It's 2 o'clock on a Wednesday.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 2 o'clock on a Wednesday, and you know what that means? That means it's time for hashtags. Listen, y'all, I get so ambitious with my little topics. I was like, oh my goodness, I have really done it now, haven't I? I have to really sit and organize all this information that I have and share it with you. I found it very difficult because, everybody is in a different financial state. So my prayer was this: give me something, God, that will help people no matter what financial state they're in. I don't want to start going on about what we do with our income because I have a family, I have different responsibilities, I have different goals, priorities, values, and I am just never going to be the one to impose that on another person. So, what I'm going to do is go over some principles that I think could guide you and help you no matter where you are financially, whether you are just kind of getting out of debt or figuring out yourself financially, or whether you are living in abundance and you just want to really make sure that you're working alongside God to uh, to increase and to be fruitful. Okay, so today we're going to talk about breaking bad money habits. No matter how much money you have to make sure that you are a good steward of that money. Financial stewardship is the name of the game. Okay, we want to make sure that whatever God has placed in our lives, whether it be our family, our careers, our communities, the people around us, the money he gives us. We want to make sure that we are stewarding over it well. Okay, this life is not just about us. Next week, we're going to talk about how giving is living. Okay, so set your calendar for that because that one is going to be a good one. But for now, let's jump right into this week where we're going to talk about breaking bad money habits. What are those money habits and how do we break them? So just a friendly reminder that if you are not already getting the Wise and Thriving newsletter, please go ahead and subscribe. Every week, I send out topics. Every Sunday afternoon, I send out an email where I discuss different topics, different things going on in the world, things that I think are important and that you need to know. And I will go ahead and add my 2 little cents in there from time to time. Okay. All right. So now, where's your seed? Where is your seed currently? Are you sitting around it? The money you have been given, the word you have been given, the potential you have been given, is it manifesting in any way? Is it growing? Well, let's go to Mark 4, shall we? And I have a little video here as I speak. Mark 4, starting at verse 3, Jesus was talking to a group of people, including his disciples. He says, listen, a farmer went out to plant some seed. As he scattered it across the field, some of the seed fell on the footpath, like the sidewalk, and the birds came and ate it up. Other seed fell on shallow soil with underlying rock. The seed sprouted quickly because the soil was shallow, but the plant soon wilted under the hot sun. And since it didn't have deep roots, it died. Other seed fell among thorns that grew up and choked out the tender plants, so they produced no grain. Still, others fell on fertile soil, and they sprouted, grew, and produced a crop that was 30, 60, and even 100 times as much as had been planted. Then he said, anyone with ears should listen and understand. So he says this to a group of people and to the disciples, and the disciples wait till the people leave, and they're like, Jesus, can you explain that to us? He said, oh my goodness, I speak in parables to everybody else, because they don't get it. But you guys are supposed to get it. They said, well, just kind of hook us up with an explanation this one time, Jesus. Starting at verse 14, he says, the farmer plants seeds by taking God's word to others. The seed that fell on the footpath represents those who hear the message only to have Satan come and at once and take it away. The seed on the rocky soil represents those who hear the message and immediately receive it with joy. But since they don't have deep roots, they don't last long, right? They fall away as soon as they have problems or are persecuted as believers of God's word. The seed that fell among the thorns represent others who hear God's word, but all too quickly, the message is crowded out by the worries of life, the lure of wealth, and the desire for other things. So no fruit is produced. And the seed that fell on good soil, y'all, represents those who hear and accept God's word and produce a harvest of 30, 60, or even 100 times as much as had been planted. That's why I was asking you, where's your seed? Where's your seed? Is it on the footpath? Is it on the shallow soil? Is it in the thorns? Or is it in the fertile, good soil that produces harvest, plentiful harvest? If you don't know, it's your lucky day because I'm going to tell you. Well, I'm going to help you identify where your seed is and see if we can become better planters. Okay? Now, so Jesus Christ is specifically talking about God's word in this passage in Mark 4, right? What I'm going to do is something slightly ambitious. I'm going to take that word and I'm going to apply it to a metaphor about planting, right? So we learned last week a couple of things about God, the seed of God's word concerning money. We learned that it's not evil, but loving it is, right? We learned that it's a defense. It answers all things. The power to get it comes from God. And then we learned that when the money comes from God, he adds no sorrow with it. So if you missed the part 1 of the So Good series, you can go back and see what exactly I'm talking about here. But this is the seed of God's word concerning money. So how can we use God's word, receive it, and ensure that our seed is not falling on the footpath, the rocky ground, or the thorny ground, which represent the bad habits around money, okay? So is your seed, let's see, we want our seed in good soil, okay? We don't want to be out here toiling for every dollar. No, we want to make sure that we are investing in things that, given the right nutrients, given the right environment, it's going to grow. It's going to work for us, right? It's the reason why we go from, just kind of collecting a salary to investing some of that money, to becoming maybe self-employed, to becoming business owners, letting our money work for us, finding the right products. But we're going to go more into that. We want our seed in good soil. So is your seed on the footpath? These are the seeds that fell on the sidewalk. I don't know why the farmer was not being more careful with his planting, but I digress. The birds came and ate that seed up. Okay, so you need to identify if you have seed on your footpath. Okay, so are you spending with no goal or priority attached? Are you spending on things that have no real value, like crap food or cheap clothes? Are you working without a budget? Like, as in, you don't know really how much money is coming in or going out on average monthly? Are you working with no financial clarity? Like, if you don't really have financial goals, if you don't really know what you owe or how much you owe or what the interest rates on those balances owed are, and if you have no real plan or timeline concerning your money, then you may be scattering seed right on that footpath. And guess what? If you are putting it there, it's not going to grow. You're going to keep toiling for every little seed, and you might not ever see a harvest. So if you're doing any of these things, you got to stop it. Okay? Is your seed in rocky ground? This these seeds of people who receive the word with joy and they start to sprout, but they have shallow roots, so it doesn't grow. So let's identify if your seed is on rocky ground. Are you failing to tithe? Because the way I see it is this: if everything in my life is about me and mine, I am I'm throwing that seed on rocky ground. That is a very shallow ground to try to grow anything in. Okay. The least I can do is 10% to give back for all that has been given to me. And we don't have to go too much in this because to me, it's a personal conviction. Either you get it or you don't. But are you failing to that tithe? Do you have bad debt with high interest rates? Do you have financial products like with no growth or tax advantages? Do you have investments in unstable or risky markets? Are you funding unhealthy or unsustainable lifestyle habits like overeating, drug use, alcohol use, excessive nightlife, partying, etc., excessive traveling? Well, then if you are doing any of these things, and especially if you're doing it for the gram, you are probably sowing your seed on rocky ground. And yeah, you're gonna sprout up a little bit, but after a while, as soon as that sun start beating over your head, you don't have a plan after that. And you're not gonna be able to grow past that. It's not good ground, and that's not what we're here for. Okay. Lastly, is your seed in the thorny ground? This is the seed that is choked out as tender plants by the worries of life, the lure of wealth, and the desire for other things. I love how that's said, right? So let's see. Are you overextending yourself financially to impress others? Would you rather look rich than be rich? Think about it. Okay. Are you overspending to keep up a false image of yourself? Are you investing money in everyone who comes along to say they can make you rich? Are you hoarding cash in savings accounts with no growth and no real aim? Are you spending on things that are not aligned with righteous living? If you are doing any of these things, then you may be sowing much of your seed on thorny ground. Y'all, I'm a believer in abundance, and I believe that we shouldn't go around thinking, oh, there's only so many seeds that I can sow. But, Moses told us to teach us to number our days so that we may apply our hearts with wisdom. But so we can't really do that if we don't know, because we don't know how many seeds we're going to get. And I'm not saying you should never have any pleasure. You should never go out and enjoy yourself, because I certainly do. But I'm just saying at the end of the day, I want my seed growing. I want my seed working for me. So if I have to sacrifice in different areas temporarily or for a time, I'll do that, especially if I know I'm on a timeline and I know I have goals and I know I'm trying to reach, I would totally, it's just that no discipline, okay, in that moment is enjoyable. In fact, it's painful. This is Bible, right? But if you let that discipline work in you, it will produce a harvest in you. Okay. So we don't want to keep sowing our seeds in thorny ground. We want growth. We want harvest. We don't want our little tiny seedlings, our little tiny plants, tender plants is what the Bible calls them. We don't want them choked out by thorns of trying to impress others and keep up with the Joneses in a sense, right? Now, is your seed in good ground? Because you may really very well have seed in good ground, seed that is sprouting and growing and producing a harvest of 30, 60, or even 100 times much as it's planted. So if you're budgeting your monthly expenses, if you're spending wisely, if you're giving to your church, your family, your friends and community, if you are casting financial vision for the future, creating and completing action steps to reach specific goals, and if you are employing wisdom, discipline, and good judgment in the Proverbs 23 cents, my friend, I have good news for you. Seems as such you are sowing your seed in good ground. So that's good. And that's where we wanna be. But hey, if you're not there, guess what you have now? Guidance. Guess what you have now? A tool for self-reflection and self-awareness that you can take with you as you improve. Guess what you're going to be with yourself? Patient. Guess what you're going to do? Practice radical grace as you work toward the steps in getting to a better state. You're not going to beat yourself up, friend. You're going to come out of this better, okay, by applying wisdom, discipline, and good judgment. And I say that on individual basis. I'm talking about families. I'm talking about nations. I'm talking about the nation I'm in right now, this here United States. We can do better. We will be better. We're going further. We're going up. And we are on the cusp of some really great things. Sometimes it takes some uncomfortable situations to get us to greatness. But you know what? It's in us and we'll do it. Okay. That was even now I'm getting into my prayer. Okay. So the prayer is that we are going to practice Proverbs 16:3. We're going to commit to the Lord, whatever we do, and we're going to allow Him to establish our plans. Stop looking around on the internet, letting people tell you what you need. You don't need nothing else. I was looking for planners and all this stuff to stay organized. And he said, Ashley, I was on Amazon. I heard a voice, still small voice, said, there's nothing here that can make you more disciplined. There's no planner, there's no tool, gadget, or anything else that can make me more disciplined. I have to decide to be more disciplined. Even if I take a regular college rule notebook and sit at my table every morning to organize things, plan things, sort things out, put crunch numbers, whatever, that will work way better than getting some fancy planner that I never use, right? I have homework for y'all tonight. We're going to read Mark chapter 4. The whole thing is so good. So good. And we got to start reading this Bible, seeing what God says about things and applying it. We got to start sowing our seeds in the right places, y'all. I love you very much, and I mean that thing. And I hope that you will tune in next week for So Good Part 3, Giving is Living. All right. I will see you next time.
Now, if you like what you heard here today, let's go ahead and make this relationship official. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next week.